Good evening, everyone. We've already begun the meeting. We were in closed session, now we're back in open public session. And we'll begin this evening, as we do every meeting, with rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would ask everybody to remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our troops serving here at the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. Please be seated. Dive right in. We'll have our first public participation constituent concerns session. We would ask you to, unless you have mobility issues, to step to the podium, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes of uninterrupted time to make your comments. Council may or may not respond, and Lindsay will give you a 30-second warning.
Hi there, I'm Jim Brandt. I live at 13 Coryell Street, right next to Pickles, the White House, the Marriott's old house. I'm here to talk about what's happening or will be happening shortly on Coryell Street, a development. I don't know if you're aware of it. I know the mayor's talked to the developer, Andy, about it, about a 40-room hotel, a banquet hall, 3 stories. We saw the sketch. Obviously they'll come to you and go through the process. It'd be 3 stories right next to our home, from the beginning of our house, from the curb to the backyard and past that. Just want you to consider in the next couple of months, maybe years, to think about it's also a residential area as well as a business district. We're homeowners there. There's also proposed parking garage, an Uber station. As you know, he owns most of that street. The theater, the lighting house, the boathouse, Fountain Grill, where the store Lambert and Hope is, the parking lot, and the Finkles, where they had the party last weekend. So just want you to know that as a resident, I want you to consider the residents as well, and not just the tax base and getting tax income from that. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. So yeah, you're right. I did meet briefly with Andy and did take a look at they didn't have any plans. They were really just sort of elevations and sketches more than anything. So
We saw the sketches, what we saw.
yeah, that's what I saw as well. And he offered that to me as courtesy. And so I was appreciative of that. Certainly, you know, it's my understanding that they're probably going to move right to the planning board. I don't know. We'll see. I can't speak. I mean, we haven't seen any plans yet. So it's going to be really hard for us to kind of.
But it's a residential area and it will box us in with no light, no air. And there's always the intrinsic value of your home and the extrinsic value of your home. And we're concerned about both, mostly our intrinsic light, sun, air. All our windows are on that side of the house. And we have a porch on this side of the house. And so facing 3 stories of wall, I don't think anyone would like to live up against that.
Thanks. Well, as I've said to people in the neighborhood, if you want me to keep you updated as things come to me, I'll certainly be happy to do that. So anybody wants to drop me an email, I'll start a list and we will update you as information comes to us.
I would like to say that I think it's really important that we we continue to share information on this because it is quite a large and expansive project, as we all only know by hearsay. And we have to look at that versus, you know, the permitted uses that are in the ordinance. And I think what, you know, some of the determinations that are made just in terms of whether or not it's a conforming use or not will be instructive down the line, particularly when you're talking about things like a ballroom and the size of the hotel, where I don't see a ballroom in the existing ordinance. So there's a lot of other things to be considered. Well, full disclosure, I live a street away. But it's just the downtown, there's traffic, and I think what everyone is concerned with, or that I know that I will say, you know, I'm concerned with, is that we protect our neighbors and, you know, we are good stewards of the community. Because, you know, I'm all for people coming to Lambertville, shopping here, living here, you know, we love it. You know, you love to see in the magazine that people, you know, Lambertville, #1 place to visit, #1 place to shop. But there is a balance of someone's, like, I'll call it like boutique experience, infringing upon our community experience and our community life. And that's a line and that's a balance that I think that I, you know, feel.
You go to
I'm
weddings
committed to.
and celebrations,
Please,
and
we don't
full
go back and forth.
resident in Lambertville. I'll stop.
Yeah, so you got it, but yeah, we're simpatico in that, but I just wanna, you know,
Okay.
underline that. And, but I really am concerned, because there's a lot of shifting sands there about, you know, ballroom as opposed to something else. And, yeah, that's a lot, you know, it's a lot to focus on these folks coming down Little Coryell Street. Well, we could barely, you can't even get by going, you know, you can only really go one way, you know, and cars waiting another way to go over the rickety bridge and like, you know, again, our experience versus the boutique experience, there's a line. Yeah.
I'd just like to support what Councilwoman said. I think I always come back to why I ran for city council. And it is really to try to retain as much of the character and feel and sense of community that drew us all here. And that's really important. And I would be concerned about an overwhelming presence in such a small space, big for them, but, you know, small in the sense of people live there. And, you know, people know their neighbors, and the trauma of losing Finkel's is bad enough. But to have it kind of with the traffic, and honestly, if I lived on Lambert Lane, I'd probably be concerned too. So anyway, I just wanted to support Councilwoman.
Yeah. I agree with Councilwoman Lambert and Kaminsky, is that, you know, people love the city, they love it here, and then when they move here, they want to change it. So I think we've all experienced some of that, you know, in my almost 22 years sitting behind a microphone. You have to examine the zoning. They will have full access to the zoning. I mean, as any developer would coming in doing something. There'll be several public hearings, not only here, but should it proceed to the planning board, everyone is welcome to come to a public hearing there. I would be surprised if they could do what they want to do without variances and, you know, a bunch of other steps they would have to take before they, you know, the plan would be finalized. I think that when it starts, that the mayor is kind enough to get everybody who wants to be on the contact list. So the meetings, not only here, but with the planning board, are public meetings where people could come in and talk about a project that will hopefully support the city from not only an economic level, but also a personal level. When you build something this big in a spot that no one has experienced before, so this is pretty much, you know, land that has had a completely different use. And the changes to that area will be monumental, no matter what happens, because it's all not going to be what it looks like or what it functions at now. Or through the Finkel ownership. So there's a lot of steps between this. And I share the concerns. There's got to be a balance. I often say I encourage economic development, but it's got to be balanced with the residential needs of the city. And that's kind of been my guiding mission when anything like this comes forward. So you know, we'll just have to be patient and work through the process.
Just a follow-up, or just something I forgot to say, when I did meet with Mr. Chalofsky, I did emphasize the importance of talking to the neighbors. Always important to bring them in, regardless of what you're doing and where you're doing it. We should always be talking to the neighbors first step. I know that he talked to a few of the neighbors, and I encouraged him to talk to more of the neighbors, and you know, I'm happy to act as an intermediary if need be, because I think that that's relationships. This is gonna, you know, this is going to evolve, and it's important that everybody is being mindful and sensitive to the fact that as everybody on the dais, except for the Councilman Lai, who I'm sure shares my view, our view, that we need to be mindful of everything around us as things change, right? So to the extent that I can act as an intermediary, I will absolutely do that for the residents.
We also have another step that's got to be taken. This has to be approved by the Canal Commission. And I say, good luck to something that's that big. It's going to be along most of the canal. And then we can all get ready for when the Black River and Western Railroad.
No, that's not happening. I
All
talked to Keen Baringa not that long ago.
aboard,
Yeah,
all aboard.
they have no plans.
Yes. Now,
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Boyle, neighbor here, 8 Canal Street, sitting right behind Finkel's. Thank you so much for bringing up this topic and your support. I share the concern of the council and everyone here. A couple of days ago, I do know that there were surveyors in our driveway that put a survey stake about 5 foot off of my front door. So I echo what the mayor is saying, that I do think the developer needs to be a little bit more forthcoming with the residents that live adjacent to the property and what their plans are, and especially if they are encroaching on property that is in use from, you know, our house and our townhouses and parking and all of that. So I know there's a process in place. I'm sure that will be followed, but I do know that there have been several conversations and proposals that have come up in meetings, and I wish the developer would bring in the neighbors that are surrounding and the property that are surrounding, especially the very, very close neighbors of this property. I know that that property also used to be Massey's coal yard, which is concerning, before they developed Finkel's on that property. So I'm sure there will need to be some environmental remediation work. And what that looks like is something that, you know, we want to make sure that we're kept abreast of as that happens. Thank you.
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street. I think this is probably one of the most critical days this council and this community has faced as long as I've been here, maybe probably longer, because the future of our community is at stake between filings in court today and the builder's remedy lawsuit coming from Hovnanian to try to open up our town for more development. That's one threat that we're facing, and I hope this council puts up the resources that are necessary and prosecutes this to the fullest. I've been through a builder's remedy lawsuit, and it's not a pretty sight. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work. I did meet my wife in one during that period though. And the town's at stake, because if they win, it's gonna start off a whole cascade. At the same time, now you have a large commercial development coming into a small area where you have a nice neighborhood store and a yard selling things. And I know at one time there was a movie theater. Well, what happens there will also affect the town forever. 50 years ago, this week, I was sworn into the planning board in Hillside. I had to wait till my 18th birthday. And the vice chairman of the board said to me, "Kid, if you screw up, it's gonna take us 40 years to fix it, and we may not be able to do it, so be careful." And I think that's what I think now, especially here with the Finkel site, because it really has to be an open and transparent process. I think the public needs to see what's happening, not just the neighbors, but everyone, because the traffic from a site like that will affect all of us. And so, to me, I tend to think we've got to get on top of this and bring people in to see what the impacts are. There's gonna be a lot of environmental impacts. You got environmental cleanup. You got a drinking water source for 1.5 million people running right past the site. At the canal, you've got state park. And so we've got everything that this town is about while we're here, and the river's close by. And I also noticed you talking about the HPC tonight, about making, about changes to it. So one of the things I would suggest is the redevelopment section of that plan should be rewritten so that when people come in to redevelop, they have to meet our not only our architectural and historic guidelines, but we're not gonna be putting in massive buildings next to small homes. We're not, many towns that have historic districts ban parking decks within those historic districts. If they have them in a downtown commercial, they make them fit in with, with the first floor having a shop, and then the other has to fit in with a factory building or something else. But this is a critical time because our ordinances need to be updated, and I think the historic part of this, because this is a historic area, has to be looked at, and we may get other redevelopment projects coming into the community. This may be this is the first of potential many. The other thing too is how we handle parking. And also how we do deliveries, in some of the areas they require putting alleys in or other things like that, so you're not blocking the streets for trucks, because you do have some ability to work the site because it's fairly large. So you have to think about the big picture as well as the small picture, but also, and more importantly, the town that we love. The future is up to us, and it's right now, and we may not have the town that we all here moved to be in, and we may turn into another Hamptons, we may turn into another Aspen, and basically our systems will be overwhelmed with traffic and sewage and stormwater, and so it's up to you and hope you do your job.
Hi, Beth O'Brien, 2 Hancock Street. I'm going to piggyback on what Jeff just mentioned. Today is March 6th, and I know that today was our deadline to submit to the court. Since Kay Hovnanian, the redeveloper of the Hill, is bringing us to court to intervene. And I'm wondering, what did we present to the court today? And what's our plan?
Our excellent attorneys presented a brief to the court this afternoon. I didn't read the final brief, but we all read the draft. I felt very confident that in the draft it was very strongly, the city was very strongly protected. Opposition was very forcefully, I thought, argued, and so we'll see the council have access to the brief that was submitted. That'll be sent to us tomorrow morning.
And the date is March 14th. Is that the?
For the return date for the motion, so it's a motion day, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be decided that day. The court decides probably the Wednesday or Thursday before. And, there could be supplemental briefings, so, on paper now, it's showing the 14th, but as someone who files a lot of motions, we find out the Thursday before what's going forward and what's getting carried, so. When we know something, I can let you know too.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if anyone wants to read it too, you can go on eCourt's public access and you can type in the docket number and you can read all the documents. And if anyone wants them, they're happy to email me and I'm happy to provide them, so.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Marcia Tucker, 19 Douglas Street. So Maine is now suing us, I take it. Has the New Jersey DEP ever assessed the hill for all the caustic materials that are on there? I have a reason for asking. Has anyone ever had a remediation of that hill?
I'm sorry, what was the question,
The
Marcia?
question is, has the NJDEP ever been up on that hill to assess all of the chemicals that are up there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, this needs to happen because we had our water tested for PFAS. We had it tested by CycloPure. And we have 166.3 parts per trillion of different compounds, of 50 different PFAS. And okay, we could get water from the reservoir, but I have the sneaking feeling there's a lot more up on that hill. It being an electronics factory, there's probably solvents. This needs to be taken care of. I happen to have a friend in the New Jersey DEP. I'm calling him tomorrow. This needs to be taken care of because any kind of disruption to the containers holding this stuff, Vanderbilt is going to be on the hook for it. Just to say, that is the way it works. Unless we know what's going on, we're going to be financially responsible. I want to thank you all for trying to, keep this reasonable.
Have you shared those results with us? yet?
I do. I'd be glad to give it to you.
And then we need to send it to
If
the
you could-
department because, that's a whole new, this is a whole new part of town with testing that high. Now, the DEP came in and said that they were going to do a PFAS examination.
update.
So that would be great to have an update because we haven't had one.
But just to also say, one of the substances is in the PFAS family and it's not regularly
Could
tested.
we not talk, please, so that we can hear what the speaker's saying?
And it
Thank you.
causes fatty liver problems. So I've lived there for 32 years. And we're gonna install a filter. We love our water, even with all the problems. But it's a real issue. And the other thing is you wouldn't think we would have a problem. We're way away from it. And the only other source might be Alpaca Farm. No, that's not it. Anyway,
So, Marcia, if you could, if you're able to email us a copy of.
Sure.
So,
gladly.
just a couple of things here. As we do get results from residents, we are sending them both to the county and to the state so that we have a database of who's got what. And so I do have an update. So if you're all set, I'll just kind of tell everybody what, I had a conversation with Greg Broslowski today. He's the DEP Bureau in the Bureau of Site Management. So the DEP did sampling in December. As of just recently, 14 wells came back with exceedances. And the DEP mailed letters to all of those property owners yesterday. So those letters will be kind of hitting mailboxes, the next day or two. The kind of next steps about, applying for the spill fund and that kind of thing. He did also just talk a little bit about, so the DEP does plan on doing some additional testing, but they don't have the new sampling dates yet. And they have committed to doing a source investigation, but again, they need to do more testing to get the what's called the receptor evaluations. And once they've done more sampling, the receptor evaluations lead to the source investigation. So the DEP is aware of it. We are sending them things as they come in and having conversations. And, you could not be more specific about the dates. We'll continue to check in with them and hopefully get dates soon.
Are
Just
these
So is he
14
sampling the wells that like we reported or are
No.
they sampling
No,
everything up
yeah,
there?
so-
Cause if you submit your data, because there's been a number of people in Lambertville and West Amwell that submitted their own tests, right? But now are those, is DEP going back and testing them or?
These are
Yes,
new
they're retesting them.
They're retesting?
Well,
It's
unfortunate.
Please, if you could, they're testing new wells is what.
So these are 14 in addition to the 20 plus that we already know.
I believe that's correct.
So they aren't retesting the wells that already did the sampling, they're testing
These are new.
everybody else.
Well,
Well,
Like, I do, no, I mean, that's what it's just kind of.
All right, I'm gonna ask you guys to not speak. We're just,
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through the information here. So the 14 property owners that have exceedances, from the December testing, will get letters. That's, let's just leave it at that because I don't want them to speak. So, we are having conversations with the DEP and, that's the latest as of today. Thank you, Margie.
Judy Gleason, 86 North Union Street. I'm not gonna speak to any of the specifics that have come up so far tonight, although I agree with the speakers that have already gone forward, but I am gonna say Lambertville Matters is a communication that nearly everyone sees and either reads all of it or reads some of it. Many people I know, including me, don't do a lot of social media stuff. But the way to get information in this town that's pretty surely gonna reach a lot of people is Lambertville Matters. So coming here tonight to hear about whatever there is to hear about in terms of the formerly Finkel's property. I'm not saying details, I'm not saying take a position, I'm not saying give a lot of details we don't have. I'm saying there's information out there, the elevations, I mean, I know what elevations are, they're not the blueprints, but they're important, they're information. We would benefit as a community to know what can be known, even if it's not a lot, because the rumors will be the rumors. The other point that's been brought up tonight about the papers that were filed today, well, sure, that was mentioned a while ago, but some information, we talk about open and transparent and everything else. Lambertville Matters comes out every week. We should have some information. It doesn't have to be the position of the mayor, doesn't have to be the position of the council, but this is sort of information. And so I'm just asking, please use the tools that you have to tell people what you can tell them. Doesn't have to be huge, but it can be something more than we're getting. And then you would have much more likely understanding by the residents in the community because they would have some clue. I mean, I come to these meetings all the time and I don't know half this stuff because I'm not on social media. So think of the people who never come. I mean, if we want people to know and be learning and be on the side of what you all are trying to do, move the ball on, bring us in the one tool you have for sure, because it goes out every week and people mostly look at it. Thank you.
Thanks. A couple of thoughts about that. So I hope that people aren't getting their information from social media. They should be getting their information from the public record if they're curious about what's happening in the city. So that's, public record is available, meeting minutes, videos, all of that. So you can shake your head all you want, but I do not encourage people to get their news from social media. No.
But that's not what she was saying.
Well, all right, so whatever, however you think you're getting, information about what's happening in the city. The second thing I would say is that, when I write the Lambertville Matters column every week, I do my best to sort of hit some of the things that are happening. I can't hit everything, and it actually takes a surprising amount of time to write that. And I also have a philosophy that I try not to, I try not to express my opinion. Like occasionally, sometimes it comes out because it's my right, but I try to be very moderate in terms of what I'm expressing in Lambertville Matters. And I would say that in respect to a situation like Finkel's, I'm glad to see everybody here tonight. I'm happy to talk about this. We're all always here during public meetings to address these concerns. But I'm not going to write about Finkel's. My brief conversation with a look at some plans that may or may not change. I think that could be improper and dangerous. I only want to put out what I know is true. And in terms of Finkel's, I only had a short meeting. I looked at some pictures and I have no idea kind of what's going to happen with that site. So I try to be very careful about what I write, and I can't always write. I'm not always going to write about sensitive legal matters in Lambertville Matters, for example. There was a few weeks ago when I wanted to write about something, even just about the brief, and I felt like it was important to go through both Councilman Lyde and the city attorney to make sure the language was appropriate. So, I do my best to get news out on a regular basis. People can call me if they have a question, and we have these public meetings. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you.
In fairness, Mayor, in fairness, I come to these things, I don't read all the minutes all the time, I don't do social media, I didn't say people should use social media, that was a misunderstanding by you. And in fairness, I thought Lambertville Matters was supposed to let people know what was going on in a general way. I didn't know it was for you to
We're not
say,
gonna go
so
back
I
and
didn't
forth.
realize
We're
that,
not-
I thought it was a news thing for the
Judy,
town.
please.
That's what I
I'm
thought.
going to step away from.
Okay, let me step away.
Have you used your 3 minutes?
3 minutes up.
I must have used more than my 3 minutes, because I was instructed to step away.
Thank you.
I didn't think I saw any of the warnings, however.
No, I stopped it because she was finished and you were taking.
I think the point that Judy's trying to make, and I think it's a good point, which is why I'm gonna say it, is people rely too much on social media for their information, and that's a problem, and I think everyone would agree on that. And I think what Judy was trying to say was using Lambertville Matters, even if you put the link to the video, that way people, instead of reading something on Facebook, they can get the information themselves, because it's right there. So I am in support of that. I think that, you know, it's tough for people to come to every meeting. We've got Zoom, obviously, but, you know, people have lives and they're busy. And all this does is it just shows them a reminder, hey, this is what's going on. I don't think it needs to be a column by the mayor where he's saying what's going on, because I think sometimes that could be an issue. We can't talk about some of those things, but could we include the links to the meetings?
We
I
do.
think we,
We already do.
okay, well,
We've included the links to meetings for more than a year. So every meeting, every public meeting we have, there's a link to it in Lambertville Matters. So
I'm just looking at the one from today and there's no links in there, so
I was
that's.
looking for, like, I just think here, we're sinking into, I'd like to do one thing. You know, a lot of what people come to say here is from their hearts, and it's positive communication, and they're only trying to help. So in that spirit, I would like the information to be received like that. And just like your suggestion, Evan, just let's take the information, check what we're doing, and see if we can make the product that we're putting out better. But let's not check everybody and disagree with them all the time. I just want a more positive, you know, for me, I want a more positive, like, thanks for coming. Thanks for what you have to say. I'm gonna try to make my product better every time I hear from you.
John Ellis, 21 Belvedere. Well, I want to just start by saying that in whatever happens with the Kahmanian lawsuit, I think that we should not consider settling. I think we need to take it to the end and we need to fight it as hard as we possibly can. And I'm interested in seeing that filing, because I think, you know, we really do need to have a strong case and a strong rebuttal and a really solid plan to be able to fight it. So I do appreciate everything that everybody has been doing toward that goal. And so, you know, thank you for that. The other thing is I've been in touch with Greg Brzezowski as well, from the DEP, and we tried to get them to sample other homes in December that had not been tested already. And because we had already done a whole bunch of fundraising and raised $7,000 to get people's wells tested. And they came in and they just retested a lot of those homes. And you know, even though they knew that they were already tested and had positive results, we don't even know the extent of the contamination at this point. I've been keeping a database with a West Amwell resident. We've been working on this, and you know, there are wells on Old York Road and across 179, and those are all positive. We don't even have a perimeter yet for how far this goes. So I would like if you all could maybe reach out to them and organize another public meeting so that they can update us. That was in December. This is now, we're in, you know, mid-March. We haven't heard anything, you know, and so an update would be great. I installed my filtration system in October, early October. I still have not been reimbursed by the spill fund. I'm out over $5,000. You know, and I was the first one to do it, so. This is a big problem. People still do not have drinkable water up there. A lot of them are city employees, who were trucked down to the Our Water is Worth It award ceremony for promo photos. Meanwhile, they can't even drink their own water, like embarrassing. And not embarrassing, it's cruel to do that to those people who are working for all of us at the lowest possible wages that somebody's decided to pay them. I don't even have words. Seriously. Thank you.
I will write and request another meeting to the DEP, and I'll follow it the March 20th meeting. Is there anyone else in the room? who would like to-
Just say something about, Sean, you were talking about settling, you know, just so everyone knows, there's a long process for this, and I think, you know, I'm an attorney, I have a lot of trust in the judicial system, we have great judges in Hunterdon County, judges that know the issues here. So there are safeguards built in, and ultimately, if the trial judge in Hunterdon doesn't rule our way, there's an appellate division, and after that, there's a Supreme Court, so we have lots of options, and I know personally, I don't want any developers to come in here and tell us what we're gonna do, you know, that isn't right for the town, so, we will fight for that.
Sure. Anyone else in the room? Anyone online?
Something I'd like to say with you.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
I sat here and I watched the mayor of this city tell a resident to shut up. And I think that was misspoken on your part to say, step away from the microphone, you're done talking about it. I agree with Karen's point. I know it's frustrating up here from time to time. There's a lot on everybody's plate, as I'm sure there is on your plates as well. And I respect that. But to communicate at a meeting and ask someone to get away from the microphone is to my core, it doesn't sound right. So I would hope that there is more communication in a positive way going forward, Mayor. I understand everyone's frustration. Believe me, I understand everyone's frustration. But shutting down someone at that podium because you don't like what they're saying is not necessarily the best way to run a railroad. Thank you.
Is there anyone online?
There is, Cindy Yon. Cindy, go ahead and state your name and then ask your question or make your comment.
Hi, Cindy Yon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
89 North Union Street. Yeah, I just want to say, given everything that's going on in our country right now and the whole discourse that nobody can come together, I kind of, I'm kind of embarrassed about what's going on at these meetings. We all should be coming together and working together. We all want what's best for Lambertville. To a person, I have no reason to think otherwise. I know everybody here is trying to do what's best for Lambertville. So if we need to tone down, I don't know, the fervor, tone down, whatever, tone down our voices even, please. It's about communication. And whether it's, through Lambertville Matters, or you get the links to the meetings or whatever, I think we're all trying to communicate with each other, and that's really what's important. And, I'm just kind of really disappointed in what I've just witnessed for the last, 15 or so minutes. Thank you.
Anyone else? 12 people? Okay. May I have a motion to close the public comment period, please?
So
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're gonna move on to discussion items. First, on the list is Sparkle Week. And, Cindy and Lindsay, can I turn this over to you a little bit?
Sure. We actually worked with Public Works this year, and there really won't be a lot of changes to Sparkle Week. But the Environmental Commission is working with Parks and Rec, and they're holding a fair on Saturday, April 12th. And as part of that fair, they're going to have an electronics recycling, and this is at the old LPS, which is South Hunterdon Regional School District. So you could take any recycling you had for electronics then. Then starting on Monday, April 28th through Friday, May 2nd, Sparkle will be in zones 3 and 4, which is in the flat part of the city. Zone 3 is Thursday, zone 4 is Friday pickup. And then Wednesday, May 7th, people in zone 3s and 4 would obtain permits for anything that they didn't get rid of, or any big items that they want to throw away. And then, let's see, then Thursday, May 8th and Friday, May 9th, Public Works will pick up whoever got a permit. Then the following week, which would be Monday, May 5th through Friday, May 9th, will be in zones 1 and 2. Zone 1 is Tuesday, zone 2 is a Wednesday pickup. Monday, May 12th, people in zones 1 and 2 will get permits for big items to throw away. And then on Tuesday, May 13th and May 14th, their Sparkle items would be picked up. You're still paying for big items, but anything that's a small item, they'll pick up. It's ideally the same as last year. We just swapped the weeks for the zones because Saturday, May 17th is Pride Parade in the downtown, and we wanted to make sure everything was off the street for them. And then, we have Memorial Day that follows on May 26th. So it just gives the Department of Public Works time to pick up those items and get them off the street before the holidays.
Is that online yet?
This, not yet, it will.
Now that's something, dare I say, is for Lambertville Matters every week.
For sure.
Because that's a matrix that I'm gonna have to put on my refrigerator.
We'll make
But
sure.
the electronics recycling is really, exciting.
It is. I know.
Something like Rush,
So
just
much
waiting.
stuff that used to go, and now, it's like, yeah, I gotta sort my debris. It's all my basement.
Me too.
Right?
I'm
Ready to
glad
go,
you're-
but that would be awesome. I have a box in my garage.
No, we'll make sure it's in Lambertville Matters and it's on the website. We just didn't want to do it until after tonight's council meeting and it was discussed.
Are there any other questions or?
It's like how Sparkle Week is now fun again too, so thank
Yes.
you for your work with that.
Yeah. Okay, just a few things about affordable housing tonight. Our next Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting is Monday at, what is it, 8:30?
8:30.
8:30 here in this room, if you're interested. Public is welcome, these meetings are recorded. This coming meeting, we'll be talking about the timeline, all of the deliverables and the deadlines before the end of June. So Cindy, thank you very much. And Cindy and I worked with Elaine and Crystal to make sure that all of the deadlines, everything's lined up just so. That should be a good meeting. I've met, we've been talking about properties in the city. We've had a map that's been available to see. The map is actually in City Hall, the conference room. If you want to stop in, you can take a look at the map. We've got about 40 properties on the map that we've been discussing publicly as potential mechanisms for third and fourth round compliance mechanisms. So we're having these public discussions very publicly, and I've met with at least half a dozen, maybe 10 property owners since the last meeting, and having conversations about potential sites and what particular site might what be the appropriate mechanism, what the level of interest is in property owners to partner with the city to accomplish our goals. So as I said, everyone's invited, the council's invited as well. So I hope to see some of you here on this coming Monday. Two other notes in particular about affordable housing. On the March 20th meeting, I do intend to introduce an ordinance to deed restrict the apartment in the library. And I'd like to move forward with that. We've used that, we've rented that apartment for years now, and I think it's time to deed restrict it. We can put that into the affordable housing number. Also, the council and I have talked a little bit about the potential of Habitat for Humanity properties up on Bolton Park. We've met now with the executive director. I'll be putting forth a resolution on the 20th that will basically just say that we are, the council in support of moving forward on this. And the next step would be to craft a memorandum of understanding with Habitat that they would probably provide first, and then we would sort of review and return. So that's the next step in that process. So stay tuned. I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about proposed amendments to the Historic Preservation Commission ordinance. Those haven't been released to the public because they're still in draft form. And wanted the council to have a chance to read through those and to have an understanding about what that ordinance would do. The reason why we are looking at amending this ordinance is to become what's called a certified local government. That is a designation that is made in part by the National Park Service, working with individual states that provide municipalities with the ability to craft a set of rules and guidelines and ordinances to promote and continue to build on resources of historic nature. It also opens up a pretty significant door to funding, grant funding for historic properties in town. So we are looking at that. And so I wanted to just have a brief discussion with the council tonight to see, one, if everybody's, so one thing I've said to the council, I will be happy to do, the proposed ordinance is more than twice as long as the existing ordinance on paper. And some of that is just for practical reasons, like there are now definitions in the proposed ordinance where there are no definitions on our existing ordinance. A number of things would stay the same. A few things would be new, and a few things would be kind of just fleshed out in meaning. So the proposed ordinance that we'll be talking about a little bit tonight, and which we'll probably come back to, has been sent down by the state. I worked on this ordinance. We started talking about this, I think, about a year and a half ago when we were drafting the flood damage prevention ordinance. So we were thinking about ways in which we might have greater control over flood prevention or flood protecting historic homes. So that's what got the conversation started. And I know it's been something that the Historic Preservation Commission has been wanting to talk about for some time, largely through the lens of additional funding and support at the state level. So the ordinance, the draft ordinance, Cindy and I worked on, we worked on with Debbie Kelly and members from the DEP. And so it is here tonight. One of the things I'd like to do probably in the next couple of weeks is have maybe somebody from the staff go through this a little bit more closely. Perhaps Crystal Lawton, who's the chair of the planning of the Historic Preservation Commission, and just highlight for the council what's new, what's the same, and kind of what's different. So that's where we are on this, and we may not be prepared, it sounds like, to have an in-depth discussion about this tonight, but I wanted to open the floor up to the council for some thoughts.
Is it possible to get someone at one point up from Historic Preservation for the state to talk about this as well, rather than rely on Crystal? Only rely on Crystal, but get somebody.
Or for us to have a presentation, because I would think that just in the, we started this process with going back to this, to a flood issue, but it certainly does impact a lot of other things in the city, particularly as we think about even some of the development, even, we're in the downtown is the historic district, that we just covered in public participation at Finkel's. And so I would think that it would be important not only for us to see the markup, but for the public to see the markup and to see, the draft ordinance. So everyone could, kind of consider what you know, what's happening and get, oh, for us all to get a level of comfort with that. I don't completely, haven't gone through it, my bad, but trying to understand it, particularly with those things in mind, I began to think about as well. So I think it's, a group think as much as we need to be informed, and be good stewards that, we give the public every opportunity, give them a lot of information, because I have a hard time reading an ordinance necessarily and understanding what it's gonna do, without reading it a couple times, getting a little help, getting a little extra help.
I think it's a great idea to, whenever we can, get the draft ordinance out to the public so we can discuss it, because this is gonna affect a lot of people. We wanna make sure everyone sees it, understands it as we're learning it as well. I think it's a good thing. I think it's certainly something we need to move towards. I think some of the language, I think we could work on. I think my initial concern is what's required from the state. What do we need in the ordinance, as we look at, as we create our own? And so I think we need a couple more answers about that. But I think ultimately getting it out in the public is the best thing as we continue to discuss it.
Yeah, what actually the mayor had said, what was the impetus for this was, people after Ida were concerned about whether their house or not was historic. Because that meant whether it should stay or go, or change to the house, or fill a basement, or raise it and everything. And after we looked at some existing documents that were done in the 70s, talking about it's got to be over 1,000 houses. When that was done, it's so outdated now, and the state would not accept that at that point as a valid report. So that started thinking about how do we protect historic houses and not leave the decision up to an employee to make the decision. So that's basically, I've read it a couple of times. I look forward to reading it again. And when we're ready to get everybody's input.
Yeah, I haven't read it all the way through yet. So, I would benefit certainly from, presentation of material, kind of, the story, like the backstory, how we, why are we here? Like, what's the problem? What's our current situation, and what do we anticipate this particular ordinance? How does it help us along the way? I also agree that this does need does need scrutiny by the public sooner rather than later, because many people will be affected by it. And it's important to be transparent with the community and let them, have the opportunity to read it over, but also to hear, kind of a synopsis of, what's going on, and kind of an explanation, bring it down to a little more of a common language, setting.
Well, if I could just dovetail on to,
Yes.
onto you. There's going to be, I don't want to start this off from a negative point of view. There's going to be a lot of new things that we're all going to have to think about and craft the way we're comfortable with it, everybody here and the public, before we pass something like this. So it's interesting. It could be just what we're looking for to protect the look and feel of the city. So that's why everybody comes here, and that's why we're in magazines and travel logs, and one of the top 10 or the top 20 of whatever we seem to get involved with. So it's a big shift in our focus to do something that would really protect the historic integrity of the city, the entire city. So it'll be an interesting process to go through. I'm really open-minded about it. I'm excited about leaving this kind of, if we all agree with what's going on, leaving this behind as something that we all worked on to reinforce why people love living here. So, thank you.
Okay, it sounds like the next step should be for me to clarify with the DEP that this is, the required ordinance. So, you know, it's been my understanding that the language generally is pretty tightly crafted by the state. It was certainly our experience in talking with the state. We had a 2-hour meeting. We went through it point by point. And a lot of the elements that are in this proposed ordinance are required. So this may end up being simply, is this something that we're going to commit to, right? So why don't I send this back to the state and make sure that they're, to ask if there's any flexibility in some of these points. And then, you know, possibly even see if somebody from the State Historic Preservation Office would join us either online or in person for a meeting to talk about this. There are only, I think, 43 municipalities in the state that are certified local governments, and because it's a tough process to go, and it's a commitment, right? It's really a commitment for municipalities to take this level of commitment to historical preservation and resources to this level. So why don't I start with that?
And just one opportunity too, that in turning the glass over is that we don't want to miss the opportunity. Not to be told from historic preservation, certainly we have to do what we need to do, but is there anything that we can add or something? And I'm just talking out of air, so don't expect magic. But you know, there is, if we're gonna do it, you know, it's interesting that there's all these other towns that have done it. Kind of interesting to see what they did to their ordinance as well, to see if there's any, you know,
Well, yeah.
flourish that is our flourish.
So we were directed to a couple of municipalities to look at language that they have incorporated into their ordinances that got them into the CLG status. So we did use, I don't remember the name of there were 2 municipalities.
I may have them.
Oh, I have them, but I don't have them with me. So we did use some draft language that was approved by the state. So and then we did go through the state. We went through this point by point, and there were quite a few things that were, you know, non-negotiables.
Yes, and from memory, so hopefully, I mean, but this is like over 6 months old. We have a document, I think, that the state provided us that has like some strong language or something in it. I'll see what we have from back then so that we can share it with you.
So I think that we will move on then. It sounds like we're ready to move on from that. So stay tuned. We will have more discussion on the proposed ordinance. I want to talk a little bit about a potential farm market at the library on Sundays during the summer. So I talked to the council a little bit about this, and Cindy's been wonderful in terms of getting some information, and I just wanted to kind of get this out here to see if the council will give me leave to do a little bit more exploration and possibly move forward. So Cindy had a really wonderful communication with somebody from the DCA who provided a lot of resources, including a long list of potential vendors. Did she provide the initial letter, or did you write that to vendors?
I wrote that, the initial letter.
So we have a long list of vendors. We've gotten some resources about what it means to start a farm market. Susan written a letter that we would send to potential vendors, and it's you know, it gives your information of what's your level of interest. Do you want to talk a little bit?
Sure. So, you know, farm markets can be anywhere from fresh produce to flowers to homemade soaps and candles and things like that, and even baked goods. So we talked to both the County Board of Health as well as it was DEP. They have a section for farm markets, and you know, certain things have to be licensed and certain things don't. So we put together a letter. Marlton actually has a wonderful farm market, and so I took a look at that. And so it would begin like June 7th and end like the end of September. So it would be a very short window, Sundays only. from, what
I
we
think
say?
you said 8 to 2.
Yeah,
probably.
so it would be a short period of time. Vendors, we would send out a letter to people in part of Hunterdon and part of Mercer County. We kind of tried to pick a certain radius. I'm not convinced that their, list is up to date because they still have Homestead Market on it. But, that's why if we're going to do it, we should jump on it soon so we can get the letters out to see if there's interest. And then people would just bring in, you would just have people bring in like limit to 4 to 6 vendors that would bring in their produce or whatever they had. They would, we would solicit for it, they would send back the form. First year, we said we wouldn't charge a fee because setting it up, we want to get it going and, we would just manage it ourselves that way.
And Cindy also, at my direction or my asking, wrote a letter to local residents regarding the parking, right? So we would need to clear the parking lot out of the library at probably 7:30 in the morning on Sunday, and it wouldn't be available until about 2 o'clock. So I think it's 14 spaces. We're prepared, I'm prepared to, sign that letter and send it off to everybody in the radius of the library and see, what concerns there might be about the loss of parking in that lot for a few hours on Sunday morning. The library is of course closed on Sundays, so it wouldn't affect the library hours in and of itself.
And we also, notify the businesses there too, because they may have some patrons that park there, just so they're aware of it.
Sure, of course.
Question for Cindy. Did you reach out to somebody or can you, New Jersey Fresh?
That's who I spoke with.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good. Well,
Yeah,
that's
her
good
name
place.
is Christine. I don't remember her last name, but she was fabulous.
Yeah, they're,
Right away, boom, got right back to us.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
really great to work with from my experience in my past life.
Loads of resources.
Yeah, they're great. I'm glad you did that. Thanks. One question, very important, will we have an egg auction?
No, we'll have an egg lottery.
Yeah, right.
An egg lottery?
Last point is that, Cindy checked with our city insurance company, would be covered without any issues. So, what does council think? Is it not something that,
Yeah,
I just want to make sure, I want to check in, make sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
let's give it a
I
try.
think, we're also missing the whole.
Everybody out there?
Yeah.
Thumbs up?
And I feel,
And a thumbs up from the audience.
okay, good.
People have spoken.
And I feel like,
They gave us the finger.
they gave me the finger.
If you're looking for comments from the public, I would 100% support the idea of the farm market. I don't know that the library is the right place, because where are the customers gonna park?
So, yeah, so without getting into a back and forth, I did look at a number of different possibilities, right? So, there's not a lot of space in the city and we are a walking community, right? So I mean, we talked a little bit about Ely Field, which is, not, in my mind, not as practical. There is some limited parking there. The Cherry Street Park is a park. It's not really designed to take the wear and tear of, farm market and trucks. The Koala Park is obviously off limits these days, so not a lot of space. So, and this is really, I think, kind of a test case, right? So start small, make sure that there's a lot of community buy-in. This is not a heavy lift for us. I can probably, Cindy and I can arrange most of this myself. There are a couple of residents who are interested in volunteering and making sure that, things go smoothly. So I think it's worth just giving it a start, seeing where it goes. If it turns out that it's jam-packed every Sunday, we'll look at doing it, expanding it somehow, somewhere else. I don't know, but I think starting small is a good way to go. So, all right, so I'm gonna continue to do a little research on that. Cindy and I are gonna get cracking on sending out letters on Monday to vendors and residents. I'm more than happy to hear your thoughts and comments on it.
Just one other thought.
Sure.
Cindy, I know you work really closely with the Shad Festival food vendors.
Mhm.
So there are certain things that you already know that if someone sets up and they want to have propane
That's right.
tank or generators or anything like that.
So it's nothing that someone's going to be cooking on site.
Right.
So like if they have a cottage license or whatever, they may bring, pies and things like that, cakes maybe, but we're looking mostly produce and homemade things. So if it's a pie or anything somebody's baking, they have to have a license within the state of New Jersey. And we have to send it to the county. Honey doesn't have to be licensed, produce doesn't have to be licensed. And like I said, no one's going to be cooking on site. It's,
Hopefully.
yeah. Well, yeah.
No,
They're not.
No, yeah.
That's
Say no to
not the
cooking.
vendors that we're looking for it, but,
Yeah.
you know, when we downloaded the list, it's all from New Jersey Fresh.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and,
These
you
are
know,
farmers.
I'm personally interested in supporting Hunterdon County farmers, and, as local as possible. So we'll see where we go. I'll keep everybody, informed of what our progress is. So thanks for that. Yep, I think hoping it'll go well and be a lot of fun. Discussion, some of these aren't really discussion items. The library, I'm gonna talk for a couple minutes about the library. The library is going to be closing for probably at least 4 to 6 weeks, beginning at the end of March. Simultaneous to the lead paint mitigation, the interior of the library is going to be freshened up. They're going to do some painting in the library, replace some carpeting, get some new furniture. So they're going to be closed for about 6, I think she said 5 to 6 weeks. I'm working with the library and the library board to make sure that, you know, programming is still available. So, you know, we're looking at doing some bouncy book time here in the mornings. We're going to do a pop-up library in the conference room at City Hall. There'll be library staff there most of the week. So you'll be able to come in and get a book or return books. So there'll still be library services, and I'll have more information on those in the weeks ahead. But I'm working with the library to make sure that that we can accommodate in other city municipal buildings as much programming as possible. So stay tuned on that.
And Mayor, will there be access to the internet at the satellites?
There will be. Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
a big draw for the library,
Yeah.
and for the
Yeah.
population that doesn't have internet and computers.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Mayor, he's asking for, okay.
Yeah, there will be. Yeah.
For the public. to
Yes.
have- Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be 1 to 2 computers available in the conference room of City Hall. At a space, it'll be part of the pop-up, so there'll be library staff to run circulation software, 1 to 2 computers for public use. There'll be a small printer for light copy work. And then, so we've already confirmed with Lindsay that we certainly have enough capability in terms of Wi-Fi infrastructure to accommodate this. So stay tuned. I don't have the date for the start of the lead remediation. That should be fairly soon. I should get that date fairly soon.
I think it's the 13th that.
No, that's the bid opening for the painting. I'm talking about the start date for the remediation of the lead paint. A couple of things are happening in the library. We have a remediation project that's due to start sometime probably in the next month. I'm not sure on the date yet, but I'll definitely have information about that next time we meet. And then we have a bid, currently a bid out right now for painting the library, so repointing and painting after the lead paint has been remediated. We have a bid opening on March 13th for that. We also have a bid opening on April 3rd for the Firehouse Stormwater Management Project. Firehouse is going to be very happy to see that underway. Just about Church Street, so that section of Church between North Franklin and North Main is due to be resurfaced and return to one-way traffic flow this spring. The specs are now being reviewed by the Department of Transportation. We should be able to go to bid on that in the next 5 to 6 weeks. So that is definitely a springtime project. We have other road work happening a little bit later in the year, so I'm not going to concentrate on that at the moment. And also, just a couple of notes about the budget. Our current intention is to introduce the budget at our April 3rd meeting. The April 17th council meeting, voting session, we will devote a special period of time for questions about the budget. And then the budget, the second reading and the proposed adoption will be on May 1st. So we'll be talking more about that in the weeks ahead. Any questions on the library closure? From anybody?
Just one thing about Church Street.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not gonna do that during Chat Fest, I hope.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Make sure.
I just actually have a public service announcement that, came to my attention is that, on May 7th, is the deadline to have a real ID. So you take your light, you gotta go to DMV and, cause otherwise if they're gonna use it, they're gonna check you for a real ID to get on, to board a plane, either that or a passport. And I know that we are gonna have, right, DMV come back the end of May, right? They'll have the mobile unit here at least, so if you forget and don't make May, we'll have the mobile unit from the generosity of Chris Hillman putting this on the list. To do that, because, but it's gonna, I've been having my child to do it because otherwise his passport expired, he's not gonna be able to get on a plane in St. Louis, but, that's my problem, but just realize that, but just so everybody knows, so now is the time, you can go online, make an appointment at DMV and get your real ID. I know I did it the last time that they were here with the mobile unit and
Yeah, it went,
felt very.
it went
Yeah,
relatively
it went good, yeah.
well.
second time.
The second time.
The second time, first time
Yeah,
nature.
it was new for everyone, including them, and, but they worked it out.
But no mobile unit will make a,
Yeah.
it's a lot, it's very convenient, so.
Thanks for that. I got mine today. As a matter of fact, I went up to Flemington office, and it's very quick. I always give them a lot of credit. I think they move very efficiently through that office. Personal.
Is it the same documentation as for your license?
You have to, go, I
I can
would say
tell-
yes,
I
it's
can-
kind of, but if you go online, they tell you exactly what to bring.
Yeah,
So it's better to check, because they have a checklist.
yeah, 6 points. So if you have a
Yeah.
passport,
So
that's 4
this-
points. Your social
The
security
current
card.
driver's license that you have that you needed 6 points, you now need to present the 6 points again.
And your driver's
Yeah.
license can't be part of
Yeah.
it.
It is,
Right.
right.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
do have a checklist for
It
you, so
doesn't
you go
like roll
online
over.
and.
It doesn't roll
Yeah, don't listen to me.
It's like you never had it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mayor, could you bring us up to date on the park, the Cabela?
Oh, no, I can't. There's no new information. So Cavallo Park, at the March 20th meeting, we will have a second reading public hearing for a bond ordinance for testing and possible remediation of contaminated soils at Cavallo Park. We have one bid in. I'm getting a second bid in for professional services there. I expect to be able to award that at that same meeting and then move forward. So that's all the information I have at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
And while we're talking about projects, I was up at Holcomb Park this week with the surveyors and city engineer doing the survey lines for the. I should have lost my ability to talk, the Fisherman's Mark project. So the surveyors have laid that out, and we've also laid out the right of way, which is going to be required from the street all the way up to the log cabin as part of our Green Acres funding. That's the last thing we have to do before we get Green Acres. We have to- Bless you. Yeah. We have to dedicate a roadway, and in order for us to dedicate a road, a public road, we have to have it surveyed and so we're in the process of doing all of that so that we can move forward. It's a complicated project, as I said last time, this for Fisherman's Mark, the survey gets done. Once we approve the survey company goes back and they do a subdivision. Once the subdivision is done, Fisherman's Mark can kind of lay their plans on the subdivision. The city will then begin to craft its redevelopment ordinance for the site. And then once the redevelopment ordinance has been adopted, we'll be able to move fairly quickly forward with the sale of Fisherman's Mark. So I'll continue to update you as I have information on that. All right, we're gonna move on to board appointments. So I would like to have one board appointment tonight. Christine Caluso stepping off the zoning board after a few years of excellent service. She's been a wonderful addition to that board. I propose to move Monique Purcell, who is an alternate, into Christine's space. and appoint Sharon Hallinan into the alternate 2 space. Sharon is a well-known person here in Lambertville, very, very dedicated to the community, and I think she'll make an excellent appointment to that board.
I'm
So,
glad she wants to do it.
what's that?
I'm happy she wants to do it.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah,
She does.
wonderful.
So unless there are any questions from the council, I would entertain a motion to adopt that.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Just a couple of announcements. Street sweeping begins on the 24th. The sweeper will be up on the hills before the 24th. On my walks up there with the dog the last few days, I've noticed how much leaves are on some of our hill streets. So he'll get up there. I've asked Lester to get him up there next week. So that we've got enough time to hit all the hills and clear all the drains.
Will it be regular?
What's that?
Sorry, will it be a regular or just a one time?
It'll be from time to time, yeah. And there will be no ticketing for cars that may be parked on those streets. We don't have an ordinance in place for the hills. At some point, we may want to change that. I'm always ready to talk about stormwater and the MS4 Tier A permit. That's something that we'll want to consider at some point. We do have a stormwater management coordinator who's now 16 hours a week, and she's going to generate the first report to the council. She's been out clearing drains, taking pictures, and doing all kinds of wonderful work already. So I'm super happy about that. Brittany Kerr. So street sweeping, noted landlord and short-term rental applications must be completed by March 31st.
The electric, did you want to say anything about
Oh,
that?
yes, I did. So we had a resident stop into City Hall this week, because her bill, her electric JCP&L bill seemed unusually high. So Cindy did some research with JCP&L this week, and kind of came up with some general information that may explain why your own electric bills may have increased. So she notes that so far this winter, from December to January, residential consumption is at its highest it's been in more than 6 years. We had the coldest January in 11 years, the 22nd coldest on record, and 5 degrees below average. At the same time, customers are using more energy. The cost of electricity has risen 8.6% impact from supply rates and 3.6% impact from delivery rates. Therefore, it's consumption and rates impacting your bills. And if you've got a payment plan, reconciliation of the payment plan was completed in February, and that was added to your consumption bill. That's what triggered this particular resident's very high bill. So we're always happy to, make calls and investigate these kinds of things. So if you ever have a question about gas or utilities, feel free to give us a call or check in with us. And
We also have a list of resources for anybody who may qualify. So if you need anything, please call Lindsay or I, and we'll send you a list. And you can start calling them to the places to see if you can get some type of refund or some, assistance in paying the bill.
Just in case anybody's interested, the CEO of First Energy, which owns JCP&L, made $26 million last year.
So if you can pay his
Make sure that's a
Yeah.
public. Yeah.
Not to mention the rate increase that everybody got. Maybe your gas bill went up just a little.
It did, oh yeah,
Oh my
the gas bill went up equally.
That's more money than what Bob Iger at Disney made.
Well, it's not just electric cars, apparently, electric cars, make a lot, but obviously consume that commodity, but generating cryptocurrency is extremely resource intensive and consumes vast amounts of electricity.
I read it.
Not on Facebook, but I read it.
Good.
I read it on
It's
anti-social
okay.
media myself. Anti-social.
Anti-social.
All right, we'll move on to our second public participation session. Same rules as before, 3 minutes, uninterrupted time. Please say your name and address. And Councilman may not respond.
Sandy Hanna, 249 South Franklin. Just in reference to the, electricity thing, I went from 300 to 800 for this month. And it was significantly larger last month. I don't know what's going on, but I know they put in the Star Energy things. And they're doing some kind of reading without reading. I don't know why that's going on, but my neighbor above me has the same problem. She went, and she wasn't even there this month. We weren't even there most of the month, and she was at 800. So we've got a big problem going on with the electric. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know exactly how to
Do you have
handle
a
it.
payment plan?
I'm not on a payment plan.
But that was the only thing that made sense to me,
Yeah, I'm not
was
on a payment-
because they're on a payment plan for the whole year. And then anything that's in excess, they bill you in February for, so.
Yeah, I'm not on a payment plan, and they weren't on a payment plan. They also requested, this is Nancy and Carol above me. They requested that they didn't put in the new meter. We requested that as well, but they did. And all I can say, it's out of control, and that's,
That's the smart meter, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
something, so there's problems going on with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Really?
Hello. Michelle Glassberg, 601 Heath Court. I just wanted to kind of circle back to the ordinance for the historic preservation. I'm on the HPC Commission. I'm not an expert on the ordinance, but Lisa Easton and Debbie Kelly are and have been working on that. So they were both literally on vacation out of the state and out of the country tonight, or else they would have been here. So all I ask on behalf of the commission is that before you do anything else or even consider things, that you get a presentation from them. They are incredible experts. They both serve on the Historic Preservation Trust. There's only 10 citizen board members on that state board. And we've got 2 of them right on our HPC. So they are incredibly knowledgeable. They have experience with CLGs with other municipalities. So I highly recommend that it not be put on an agenda until at least one of them can be present at the meeting, or that you're welcome to attend, and that it maybe, and I will talk to Crystal and ask her to please make sure it's on the HPC agenda, which means they meet the first Tuesday of the first or second Tuesday. Oh my God,
I think it's the
second. They're meeting on Tuesday coming up,
same
so.
as the library. So it's
That's right.
It's the same as the library, so it's 7:30 though, so I highly recommend, they are I mean, all of them, they are extraordinarily competent and knowledgeable on that ordinance, and I highly recommend. The discussion doesn't go anywhere without them being fully consulted and in the loop on this.
Thank you. Yeah, they were slated to come tonight. We ended up not discussing it.
Right, so
So,
you just
yeah.
check with their schedules, they're both,
Will do.
especially Lisa, is very kind of busy with.
Thank you.
Sean Ellis, 21 Belvedere Avenue. I have 2 questions. One is just a follow-up from my previous question because I didn't get an answer for it. Will somebody follow up with the DEP about holding another public?
I said I would.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
you
you.
just missed it.
Okay,
I said
thank you, I'm
earlier.
sorry. And then has West Amwell been notified about Hovnanian's filing?
Not for me. I don't know if anybody else is.
It's concerning to me because, you know, talking to your neighbors, you know, I don't think we've talked to West Amwell for the entirety of that project, and it's in our master plan. Mayor, you just said about the Finkel's property, we need to be talking to our neighbors. I think we should be, you know, and involving them and collaborating with them and working with them. Because I can't believe that, they should know about this stuff, so.
Interesting, yeah, that's a good point. We should give them a copy of the filing.
Yeah.
That was filed on us.
Right, no, I know, it's
Right, but no,
filed upon us, but it
impacts
affects
because
them.
It's right at
Yeah.
the border.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point, particularly.
because
That's
maybe
a
they
great
have, I
point.
don't know
That's
if
a
they
great
have
point.
any
It's a really good point.
recourse, but they, definitely should
No,
at least know.
They're involved, and their thought, and it could be beneficial.
I think so,
Definitely.
yeah.
Sean, a couple people have asked me too, if they could write a letter to the judge, and that's something I want to ask our attorney, if there's an ability for that, and if there is, obviously we let people know. Because those letters could be part of the public record too, that the judge can consider,
Right.
so.
Yeah, in fact, we talked about that at the prior meeting remember, because, and I kind of look about because there was this discussion about how do you file, how do you send a letter? Because in other instances, when we've had, affordable housing litigation that citizens did file, and there was the question because nobody knew what
There's a
judge,
email
how
address
to
they
file.
Yeah.
But it's, because it's different.
When it was
with-
Judge Miller, we would
Yeah.
send it, but now it's a little bit different, so
I-
we
is
just,
it
we can get
Judge
answers.
Ballard, is it?
He's the presiding judge, but I think it's actually assigned to another judge there. But the
So-
court will be able to give us an email
Yeah.
address,
That's.
so I
right.
presume.
I was told snail mail,
Okay.
so
Really?
email would be wonderful.
But you have to put the docket number on your comments?
Yep.
Right? But we have to have them provide the docket number.
We have to know that.
Right,
Yeah.
right, no, but yeah, so. I guess if people wanna right, that they should, so citizens would, I'm just trying to come up with a way to do this, so.
I
Like
think
ask
you
for us for
Put it
the
in
docket
the
number.
subject line.
Yeah, but then you gotta
Yeah.
address it to the court, if they wanna know how to do it,
Yeah,
like who it goes to. That's, we don't have that.
I think our attorney could probably call us
Yeah.
and find that out. and give us
Yeah,
some
and then
direction.
give it direction and then
Because there
could
might
make that
be-
available.
Might be an appropriate time and
Yeah.
might not just be right now,
Put
so.
it on the website, right? So we could put it on the website,
And in Lambertville Matter.
and then there, oh, there you go,
Alright.
along with Sparkle. All right,
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street. A couple of little things. So the former CEO of First Energy, or we call it Worst Energy, went to jail for paying off the Speaker of the Ohio State Legislature, just so you know that. So that's why I had to pay this guy more money. The other point is that energy deregulation, which we never talk about. In 1999, myself and many of the consumer and labor groups fought it. It passed by one vote. And the problem that we have in New Jersey is that we have deregulated monopolies, but we don't have competition. And this was something that was being feared for years, and this may not go away. It's not just the winter. So the last PJM auction was a 14% increase. So even though you stood 7 and 3, it's heading up. So, and so the one thing I will mention from a town perspective, we really need to start looking more. I know you try to do as much as you can for energy conservation, but we really need to, maybe the environmental commission too could actually talk to people in the community to do more on energy conservation, because the only way you can lower your bill is you lose yet less. LED lights are much cheaper, and so on and so forth, or having your TV off on a strip and then putting it on when you're starting, it saves you, by the way, about 10% of your bill per television. So, I mean, I want to talk about some other things, but I just wanted to put that up because I did a lot of work, I've done a lot of work in energy. Since we were talking about problems with Covella Park and we've got problems with the library again, and the Hill, with Holcomb, has Holcomb been tested as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because that's maybe a concern because there's a farm, there may be arsenic and other things. At the other point, I just kind of want to go back on is that, when Sean asked the question, I've been through towns that felt overwhelmed and then they want to settle. In fact, that's how I got involved in my town, was that the town was going to settle with the developer, and the League of Women Voters and concerned citizens took the suit over and then forced the town on it. This is going to be a very complicated and expensive thing. And in our case, Builders Association also came in, because this is going to be a major fight. And the more we can prepare now, and the more we can put our ducks in a row. I mean, some of the things we were talking about for months, we really need to get done. Because these battles can be pretty tough. And I just want to make sure that, you kind of understand what you're going to go through. And Obnanian will do whatever they can and use everything, they can find against you. And they will come in and say they can meet the goals for this community and they can do it. You've not done it. You've built all this luxury houses. You've done all this. You don't have a real plan in place, and they're going to try to come in and take over. So, and if they do it, then others may follow. So Anyway.
Judy Gleason, 86 North Union Street. I always say, and I always say that I always say, so I wanted to say tonight, I don't know if we have directed our planner yet to look at other sites for affordable housing. I know we've talked to different people, the mayor said you have talked to different people about it and stuff. But I think part of the process has to be actually doing some planning with the planner and actually doing some stuff. So assuming that it's possible that we will not lose this court thing, and that we will not wind up with 200 units or 116 units up on the hill, we will still need to know where we can have affordable housing units. So I don't know if we have directed our planner to do that yet, but I just, again, as I always do, asking, please direct the planner to do that if they haven't done that yet, or better, when I sit down, say we have done that and they're doing the planning, because we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do it this year for 3, we're gonna have to do it for 4, so please, let's do it. Let's not be where we are right now with a suit that if we'd done things a year ago, maybe we wouldn't be. So, thank you.
Thanks. I did have a conversation with the planner last week, and we have begun to discuss the 40-something sites. I'll be meeting with them next week. You know, in order for us to move forward by the end of March with our plan, we need to have kind of a lot of information in place about overlays and market to affordable possibilities, all these things. So it's going to be a very intense March for me because I've got to be having all these conversations with the planner and with the property owners. So I can assure you that there are a lot of conversations happening this month because we have deadlines that we're coming up against. And the planner already, knows, I think, to a large extent, what some of the key properties are, and has already begun to think about those properties. And I have a deadline here. I'm going to say because I'm going to be the one who's feet are held to the fire in terms of bringing forth these all the mechanisms in the next month or so that have to be agreed on by the council and have to be vetted by the public and the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. So it's happening. I promise you that. It's happening now. It's going to be happening throughout the month. I expect to have a very busy March.
And Judy, you can come Monday, 8:30. We're gonna be talking more about it.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
we'll keep you up to date. Yeah, no coffee, sir.
It's also
We got
streamed.
Powerade.
What's that?
It's also via Zoom.
That's right. It's also available via Zoom.
But the committee really has been great, and we've got a lot of great people in the community. What I love about it is we've got people that have not had the opportunity to be part of this discussion really are. I know Paul who reached out to our West Cap, and they're coming in on Monday to talk to us about possibilities of affordable housing in Lambertville in the future. So it's been great. We have a lot of really good people that are working hard to try to make sure that we meet this obligation in a meaningful way that we haven't done before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a master spreadsheet now of basically any property anybody wants to add. And whether or not it's a property that gets onto the 4th round or the 3rd round, it'll be on the spreadsheet. We'll have notes, and then we see this as a living document. As I said in the last meeting, I don't know if you were here, 1.2 square miles. So, we can create a database and track what we've talked about in public, and that database can be made available to the public so that when somebody walks by a site and says, well, I wonder if they've considered that, they can go to the spreadsheet and see that we have considered it and the reason why it did or did not, what kind of mechanism it would be and why it did or did not. And if it has a resolution, there'll be a link to it, so it's going to be an impressive database, and it's all the work of the committee and Cindy.
And Julia Taylor.
And Julia Taylor in particular.
But on the time, yeah.
Do we have anybody online who would like to make a comment?
I don't have any hands up.
Okay. May I have a motion to close the public comment period, please? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think, now we would entertain a motion to adjourn. So,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you, we're adjourned. Thank you.